happiness.
It wasn't even on, man.
Is it now?
Now it is, yeah.
Old school family. It's Monday night. We want to say thank you for a lot of you all that have followed us and showed up this evening. We had some small technical difficulties at the very beginning, but we still think that we'll have a great show. We want to say we hope a lot of you all had a peaceful and positive Monday, a beginning, the start to the week. We have a real big show coming up Thursday, which is called Soul Food. I think a lot of you all will enjoy soul food. A lot of us remember what soul food and what the food for the black community and the black household meant when we were younger and we were growing up. Again, we want to say we apologize that we had a few technical difficulties and we were late. But tonight's show is just a small piece of what us here at Old School have always wanted to do and what we want it to be about. We feel that as you get older and through certain situations and circumstances in your life, forces you to either perish or to come across certain knowledge and a higher understanding of self. And once you get a higher understanding of self, then you want to make sure that you can pass it on to your family, friends, sisters, brothers, whomever. So for a lot of you new listeners, the purpose here at Old School is not to just create a nostalgia, but to take people back. And a lot of the ones that can agree on what I'm saying, remember how it was when we were younger. We remember how family was number one. It was priority. From playing in the house to helping each other fight and watching each other's backs in the streets. The neighborhoods were different. So many people in the neighborhood cared for you. The respect that people have for your grandma, grandpa, and your home structure in general. How you could not embarrass your family in public because you were a reflection. So not only do we want to laugh, play, always remember, but a lot of times we hope to educate and enlighten. Tonight's show is how much is it for your soul? And what we mean by that is, in the pursuit of happiness, what does that happiness cost you? What have you lost over the last several years of your life? Me and the brother was talking today about the HIV epidemic in our communities and why in certain parts of the South or whatever, they claim that this epidemic is so high, that AIDS and HIV is so high. In my pursuit of happiness, it cost me. It cost me a lot. It cost my family a lot. At the time when you don't have knowledge of self and you going through what you're going through, you know, when we were talking today, and I was even telling one of my cousins down in D-Town today, that we have become so bad that, what is a trap, first of all, bro? What is a trap to you? Or explain to the listeners, what is a trap?
A trap is a mechanism to get rid of vermin.
So, we have glorified the trap house. And we even call it that. And we know that in this trap house is two things that's going to happen. We could get kicked in, get robbed and killed, or we can get kicked in and taken away from our family for up to many years. And we're okay with that, because look what we call it and how we glorify it. And as a right individual and a human being, who would glorify something called the trap house?
So you're asking the question, what type of thinking or what would motivate someone to glorify the trap house? It would have to be a payday. It's the only reason you do a trap house.
And so the 10, the 15, and the 25, the murder, or the death of us being taken away from our family, we sell our soul for that at what expense? For a few dollars? Because see, the big thing for selling your soul is holding yourself accountable to what happens or the consequence of your wrongdoing. I want y'all to follow where I'm going to take y'all right quick. God will forgive us for a lot of things, but your body will always make you pay for how bad you mistreated. One of the most evilest and dirty things I had ever seen, really, when I sit back and I think, now that I'm getting older, was inside of the crack house. You know, first of all, to have something modified that could destroy what that destroyed. And what are we talking about, bro? I mean, you know, we always had stuff out in the neighborhoods and the communities, heroin and stuff like that. But as we always say, boy, when that cocaine came through, it was almost, you know how a tornado just comes through an F5 and destroys every single thing in its path and nothing is left over? And a tornado is just death.
Yeah.
When I was telling you today, because, you know, I was one of them kids that was bad. You know what I'm saying? Knocking on people's door, running and throwing rocks at cars. You know, just your average bad kid. But my grandma and them used to tell me, boy, you so bad and you the first one scared of the dark and the devil will steal you and bring you right back. I'll never forget up on my journey in the crack house one time. And I guess where I really want to go is to just know sometimes that we got older, do we sit and think about who and what saved our life? And to remember on the pursuit of selling our soul, before a lot of us really became into knowledge of self and knew who God was or is, do you remember the things we used to say back in the day? Remember what I told you at work today? Somebody will be like, hey, you know such and such and them having a party and the after hours is going to be lit. And you remember how you would get that call the next day? Man, it's a good thing y'all didn't come, boy. Right when they opened the doors, they started shooting and about 3 or 4 people got shot. And you remember how sometimes we would say, man, I'm glad I didn't go. Something told me not to go. But because we at that time didn't really understand and know God and know spirituality, that was one instance that he saved our life. A real blessing. The crack house was cold. When I say cold, I mean cold, bro. To where the things, you know, and I'm going to ask you this before we start. Do you think in the pursuit of us making the money and trying to sell the crack back then that the smokers were worse than us, or were we worse than the dope dealers? Because look how much we lowered ourselves, our standards, what we put ourselves in just to make money.
Yeah. Well, you know, the money's a good cover up in front for what my passions and desires were. You know, because you understand once you get that money, all I'm getting really doing is spending on my passions and desires.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have a mini. I might have a passion and desire to be on some candy paint and be in them soft seats, and for people to see me, or the right people to see me in them soft seats. I could really care less about somebody I don't care about, but the people I care about, when I'm with them, taking care of business. And so that becomes feeding my desires and getting what I need. And I learned that I'm selfish. And so it takes somebody selfish to be out there. And is what my experience has been.
But at what point do we consider ourselves a devil? Because we knew that we had a substance in our hand, that with this substance, we can make an individual do anything they wanted. And one thing in old school, we gonna keep it 100 and we gonna keep it real. We want to be a voice of our community. You know, you can't have the good without the bad. You know, the pretty without the ugly. And these were things that contribute into what they're talking about. That why so many people or places in the South that they say have a high HIV epidemic. But let me tell you about some of the things that went on in the crack house when they was first going on, and I was first, off the porch into the game. There would be women that would come to the crack houses with no money, but give up their whole selves for $10 rocks, $20 rocks, whatever the case may be, making people fight each other, making people steal whatever it was that you wanted. People were giving up all their food stamps and their money in pursuit to chase this drug. It was even so bad where some people would bring their children. And I always thought that, man, because see, like I told you all, I was one of them ones, bro, that would sit up and watch a scary movie.
Yeah.
And the whole time while I'm watching the TV, I'm scared to death. But then when it's time to go to bed, will you leave that night light on?
Yeah.
Will you leave the light on in the hall? And one of the coldest pieces of advice that I ever got from a young lady smoking crack one day was where she said, and I'm sitting there because I'm observing.
Yeah.
I'm watching her pull the torch out of her purse, put it on the table, fire it up, but she was still giving me game because she said, baby, if there is one thing I can ever tell you, never mess with this. And I guess since I've never did crack, I don't understand, but I only compare it to something that must be so good that whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years that you chase this substance. Is it the high? Is it the pleasure of the high? Is it the feeling? But then when you sell your soul for that, and if God does allow you to come back, are you ready to hold yourself accountable for what you have to pay back when you get into your right set of mind?
Man, the thing is that we get out there and it's time to do me. And in doing that, I have an opportunity to really take with me all the messengers. Let's just say it like this, all the messages that I receive. And that really is the key, to know when am I being guided properly. This is the thing. You mentioned, how do I recognize the devil within? That ain't gonna come before a whole. You're not gonna recognize that devil within. This is really what the train analogy is all about. It's about not recognizing that you getting on that train about to kick it. About to kick it. That's it. And You get on that bad boy and you walk right past the conductor.
And tell them who the conductor is, bro.
Man, the conductor is sitting up there with just straight evil in mind. And this is what I mean. This is really about me being given life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be some kind of devil who will let you play with your life.
Yeah. To where if you play with your life in the pursuit of that happiness and messing with that poison, we buried more partners, relationships and ties were severed because of the filthy money. Can you imagine that if you do come out of that hole and you have an opportunity to go about your life, and remember what I told you at the very beginning, God will forgive you for a lot of things, but your body is always going to make it pay for what you did and mistreated it in your younger age. Can you imagine having to be accountable to know that if you do start to come back into your senses, that you HIV positive? Because you got so far off on this train, exchanging needles, sleeping with individuals that had ain't no telling what. And see, when the crack houses first got going, a lot of individuals found pleasure in being able to take this individual over here and you do this for this. See, I mean, this is, what else is being real? These are the things, bro.
We're not set up right tonight, man.
Wow.
We're having a hell of a show, but we're going to have to really technically take this out later. So we're going to go ahead and go into the half hour. I mean, this is some real fire conversation. I ain't going to even lie to y'all. When y'all get the playback on this, hey, go ahead and like and share and really put this in front of the individuals who need to hear this. Hey, but look, check this out. We got the Kool-Aid challenges. We're heading into the half hour. I'm going to go ahead and post that up. Then we're going to look for your feedback on the way back. So we got the Kool-Aid challenge coming up.
Oh, and the question we want to ask too is who thinks, what's the best, Oreos or Chip Ahoy's? And whoever can guess the flavor of Kool-Aid, you will receive a free downstream of Love Was Behind It All, which is our biggest tribute to Grandma.
All right.
So what's they not hearing us?
Tough, man. We at the half hour. We got the Kool-Aid challenge. That means you need to really know your game. And when you take a look, based on the color, based on past experiences, if you know anything about this, we need you to identify what the flavor is tonight. What kind is sitting before you?
And whoever even comes closest will be the winner tonight. And offline, we'll get in touch with you.
Yeah. Bring in the heat.
So what's wrong with the
Man, we got Callus Indigo. Appreciate it. Responses.